Recession 2023, is it a boon or bane in IT industry, is going to be the topic of discussion today. We all know that recession considerably has an impact on different sectors of industry. The International Monetary Fund and World Bank have been projecting a steady pace of degrowth that they are expecting it to happen in 2023 and also in the coming year 2024. That's where world across the talk about Recession 2023. In common nomenclature, whenever a degrowth in an economy happens, generally people tend to attribute the same to recession. But if we analyze the current trend that's happening across the world, is not exactly be called as a recession, because currently there is a rise in inflation rates and there is a rise in the interest rates and there is a low growth happening across sectors leading to the degrowth in the overall economy of the respective countries. That's making one to say here the recession is going to take place. That's where, most importantly, every professional relating to IT industry is much bothered about the fate of IT industry given the current stagflation, which may in future continues unabated, may lead to a kind of recession. That's where we need to discuss pinpointedly how the IT industry happenings currently are a part of the current stagflation and how long it is going to be a trend and when again we will find good days for IT industry. These three are the main aspects, and that's where let's look at the world scenario followed by the IT industry scenario in India specifically. Over the past 1 year, we have been watching a roller coaster ride for the IT industry with reference to stock prices, shedding heavily in terms of the market prices, and the same is attributed as a consequence of the impact of the recession in the US and eventually all over the globe. As we all know, the Indian IT sector has been dominated by companies from the US and other nations. With high rate of stagflation at this point of time, giving fears for a long recession beaming over the world, these companies have started layoffs. Leading corporates like Amazon, Apple, and Microsoft have laid off thousands of employees while the number is expected to grow further. Many Indian conglomerates like Tata and HCL, though have remained steady in their economic growth despite the hardships, but the ups and downs happen to be different for different companies for different reasons, and relating them to a mere nation would not be the only factor for anyone to conclude that there is a stagflation leading to an overall degrowth in the IT industry. The economic data can be considered, I feel, merely as predictions. Events like the pandemic have always been a surprise factor when it comes to the changes in the economy. The economy might take forward steadily, but the hiring numbers are still set to see a downfall leading to multiple consequences. Key predictions for the IT industry in 2023, according to me, are as follows. Firstly, 20 to 30% downfall in hiring new staff is going to happen. This major change is already seen in many companies, and while the window is still open at a wider range, it can be seen that this window will become smaller in the coming years. Apart from the hiring, many employees have started to quit their jobs themselves. The reason for this consequence are manifold. Since the companies originating from the West are directly under the wrath of stagflation, come recession, they are not offering compatible job perks and salaries. Also, now that startups are seen to be growing even during a global recession period, they aim to hire bench recruits. Thus, many people have switched to finding freelancing jobs in India. The much talked about campus placements are said to take a hard hit during this phase. Campus placements are yearly rituals of companies to hire more workforce for their increasing requirements, followed by resignations. However, during an economic crisis, cost cutting reduces the chances of new recruitments. This, as a rule of thumb, we all know. And that's what is also happening at this point of time. Further, many are pairing with contract resource provider companies that can assist them in working with freelancer workers on a contract basis as bench resources. This acts as a beneficial technique and the goal is to reduce expenses. Currently, world across, the slogan is cost cutting and reduction of expenses. Recently, in India, Mahindra, Wipro, and Infosys were in the news for revoking their appointment letters to many freshers. This was after a waiting period of approximately 3 to 6 months. The act was highly criticized and many authorities questioned this matter while the market leaders did not provide a clear justification. More than 3,000 freshers have suffered due to the recall of their appointment letters. This incident, which has happened with the big wigs of the Indian IT sector, portrays the unreliability of the hiring in the coming years, causing a shift in expectations and choices, especially among freshers. Keeping aside the fact that the world economy is under a dark cloud, the only ray of sunshine on all these downfalls is that the requirement for talent and work stays constant in the IT industry. It is a sector driven by technology which has developments and improvements every second, every hour, every month. Software that would have been the lifeline of many operations last year must have now turned into an outdated tool. With new technological developments, the requirement for workforce remains constant. The methods of hiring might change due to the need for cost cutting. Thus, shift from hiring permanent recruits to hiring freelancers can be seen as an industry trend at this point of time. These days, many job portals are filled with openings for Java developers on contract, React developers on contract, PHP developers on contract, and iOS developers on contract. These openings are evident proof of how many companies require advanced tech support, and economic slowdown cannot change the basics and the needs for a company's functioning. Tips to balance recession, crisis, and company's operations be stated as follows. 1. Reduce the cost involved in doing business. Work on customer service improvement and employee experience improvement. The goal is to maximize business with your current clients. Second point, leverage technology against the costs. The recession which the world faced back in 2010 was different from today, and we now have tech and tools at our disposal that can replace many high costing tasks. Focus on customer and employee needs and deploy the best fit tools and tech, which would in turn become a one time investment. Further, as a third point, what I would like to say is the current period is not the best time to take the risks. The goal for the companies is to create a healthy balance and eventually set realistic targets for their companies. The predictions show that there is a possibility of a growth rate. However, it is set to be at a very slow pace in the coming years. Thus, if any company tries to put beyond possibilities, it may put the company only at risk. Focusing more on stability rather than huge numbers may be the need of the day for the IT companies. Fourthly, IT companies at this point of time have to get the job done rather than who does the job. Many companies are stuck with the idea of hiring the best freshers from top colleges. While the same would require competitive packages, company might not be in the place to offer the same. This ends up making the companies limited in terms of resources. The key is to hire bench resources who would act as your backup whenever new targets needs to be completed. And finally, India is not primarily a direct target for recession, but many market leaders who are the target of this period operate in India. Thus, directly or indirectly, the Indian economy is set to be effective. However, the fact that we are not a direct party to the current stagflation come recession, that is to say, the crisis, creates a gateway for us in terms of growth. It may be a slow growth that will seem huge after the cloud of stagflation come recession fades. This is thus the time to act smart, focus on stability, not in terms of achieving high targets. That's where I feel the Indian companies, if they focus mainly on a steady pace of growth in the coming years and maintain their ongoing contracts and maintain the order flow of the book, I feel they may sustain this stagflation come recession period. But on the global front, there is going to be news flows on the part of retrenchments happening across the IT industry, where even in India also we will be affected by the impact of such retrenchments happening, and we may tend to see many IT industry professionals for various reasons either losing their jobs or becoming freelancers or looking for alternative employment, or this is thus the time to act smart, focus on stability, and not looking to do something on their own. This kind of trends may also emerge in the coming 2 years, given the stagflation come recession scenario. Hope the information is useful. Thank you very much.